David Muir, ABC's World News Tonight, America's most watched newscast. Now streaming same day with all the breaking news of the day on Disney+. Most watched, most trusted. Now on Disney+ every night.
Tonight, breaking news in the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. Authorities back at her home in Tucson today, erecting a white tent at her front door, and what they could be seen holding. It's where that chilling surveillance was captured of that armed masked man. Also tonight, here the new clues. Video from the New York Post showing black gloves and where they were found. And what authorities are now asking of all of the neighbors within 2 miles. And tonight here, Nancy Guthrie's daughter, Savannah Guthrie, sharing childhood home movies, writing, "Our lovely mom, we will never give up on her." Aaron Katersky standing by on these new clues and what they were doing at that front door. Also breaking tonight, the Department of Homeland Security set to lose its funding, a partial government shutdown now looming. With President Trump's border czar tonight, Tom Homan, revealing the ICE surge in Minnesota is ending, saying we had great success with this operation. 2 U.S. citizens were shot and killed, a mother of 3, Renee Good, and that ICU nurse, Alex Preddy. There was breaking news we have just learned tonight, a Marine falling overboard on the USS Iwo Jima, the major search for days. Tonight, a federal judge has blocked Secretary Pete Hegseth's attempt to punish former combat pilot Senator Mark Kelly. What the judge said. Tonight, following the death of actor James Van Der Beek, the alarming rise in colorectal cancer among young adults in this country. What the medical community wants everyone to know. And tonight, actress Katie Holmes paying tribute to her Dawson's Creek co-star, and the last image posted by Van Der Beek. There's a new storm brewing tonight, a mix of snow and heavy rain. Several states. Lee Goldberg has the forecast. Tonight, President Trump repealing U.S. power to regulate climate. The president rejecting the science, and what this now clears the way for. Critics tonight say this is not only dangerous for the environment, but for your health. Also tonight, the dramatic race to save a mother and 3 children trapped in their car upside down. A massive sinkhole swallowing a city street. And America Strong tonight, the American skier from Olympic gold to diamonds, and how Taylor Swift got wind of this. And look at this tonight, the young man in his backyard on his own homemade course that he built. It helped make him an Olympic star.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening. We begin tonight here with the breaking news and the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. The FBI and law enforcement were back at Nancy Guthrie's home in Tucson today. Take a look. A white tent was put up at the front door of the home for a time. The FBI could be seen carrying a height chart. You can see it right there on the far right-hand side of your screen, trying to determine the height and weight of the man seen at that front door. And just moments ago, before we came on the air tonight, authorities revealing the man was approximately 5'9" or 5'10", based on measurements and comparisons made today at the home. Of course, that's where the chilling surveillance video was captured of that armed masked man. Also, moments ago, authorities releasing this image of the backpack they say he was wearing, a black 25-liter Ozark Trail hiker backpack. And tonight, investigators now analyzing 2 black gloves found not far from Nancy Guthrie's home. You can hear agents there saying, is that a glove on the ground? And this evening, what the sheriff is now asking of everyone within 2 miles of Nancy Guthrie's home. And the FBI just moments ago doubling the reward now for information leading to Nancy Guthrie or her captor to $100,000. Our chief investigative correspondent, Aaron Katersky, leading us off tonight from Tucson.
Tonight, for the first time since Nancy Guthrie was abducted 12 days ago, the FBI erecting a white tent outside her front door. Investigators worked inside for about an hour before leaving with a large case marked video forensics. It's the same spot where an armed masked man was seen on chilling doorbell video. They're now trying to build a physical profile using the height of the archway to compare to the man's height and the floor tiles to measure his feet. You could see the FBI today holding a height chart.
They're going to be able to very closely estimate his full body size, most likely including his weight.
And late today, the FBI described the suspect as a male between 5'9" and 5'10" with an average build and confirmed he was wearing a 25-liter Ozark Trail hiker backpack. Tonight, investigators are also analyzing 2 black gloves the sheriff said were found on the side of the road near Nancy Guthrie's home. The New York Post was there when 1 glove was recovered. Both gloves are now being tested for DNA and blood after drops of Nancy Guthrie's blood were found on her front porch. Investigators are now asking neighbors within a 2-mile radius and beyond to share home security camera footage from January 1st, a month before the abduction, to February 2nd, the day after she was abducted, seeking images of anything during those weeks out of the ordinary or important to our investigation. One neighbor saying he went through his video looking to see if there was anything suspicious.
We went through my cameras. We didn't find any vehicles moving at that time in front of my house.
Tonight, police are now indicating there was a suspicious vehicle on the street between 9:30 and 11 a.m. on January 31st, the day before Nancy Guthrie was taken. In addition to asking neighbors for videos from the last month, authorities also appearing to look at this specific window of time.
There must be something in there that they've seen or some other indicator that shows that potentially somebody could have been casing the place.
Another week of this nightmare.
12 days into what Savannah Guthrie has called a nightmare. She is now sharing home movies from her childhood with her mother, writing on Instagram, "Our lovely mom, we will never give up on her." A window into her private pain as she continues to pray for the return of her beloved mother, 84 years old with a pacemaker and fragile health. They are not giving up hope. One of Nancy Guthrie's friends, Lupita Murillo, saying Nancy Guthrie is a warm, caring, devoted mother and grandmother.
She was the kindest, warmest, the most giving person I've ever met, and was passed on to her daughter Savannah as well, because that's how Savannah is.
Again, David, just moments ago, the FBI described the suspect in Nancy Guthrie's abduction as a male, 5'9" to 5'10" of average build, and they said he was carrying this kind of backpack. They've doubled the reward now for information to $100,000. David, this investigation is getting on 2 weeks, and sources close to the inner circle of family and friends around Savannah Guthrie are describing a growing sense of frustration with the pace of the investigation and the limited amount of information coming from the authorities. David?
Aaron Katersky leading us off here tonight. Aaron, thank you. The other breaking headline, the Department of Homeland Security now set to lose its funding with a partial government shutdown now looming. Democrats demanding changes to President Trump's immigration crackdown. And tonight, the president's border czar, Tom Homan, revealing the ICE surge in Minnesota is ending now. 2 U.S. citizens were shot and killed, a mother of 3, Renee Good, and that ICU nurse, Alex Preddy. Homan today saying, "We had great success with this operation." Here's Matt Rivers.
Tonight, border czar Tom Homan says the massive immigration operation that's been going on for months in Minnesota, Operation Metro Surge, is coming to an end.
We've had great success with this operation, and we're leaving Minnesota safer.
It began in December and grew to more than 3,000 federal agents, at first led by Commander-at-Large Greg Bavino. They swarmed Minneapolis, pulling people from vehicles, breaking down doors with battering rams, and clashing with protesters. Federal officials say they arrested more than 4,000 people, including some violent criminals. They also killed Renee Good, a mother of 3, after Agent Jonathan Ross opened fire on her in her vehicle. And Alex Preddy, an ICU nurse who was shot at close range multiple times. Homan replacing Bavino after he was reassigned amid public outcry.
There were some issues here, and we addressed those issues. But I'm not going to sit here and say anybody did anything wrong.
Local officials, including Governor Tim Walz, welcoming the news, but not without skepticism.
While the federal government may move on to whatever next thing they want to do, the state of Minnesota and our administration is unwaveringly focused on the recovery of what they did.
The news comes as lawmakers leave Washington without a deal to fund the agency that funds ICE, the Department of Homeland Security, all but ensuring a partial government shutdown. Democrats, who have been pushing for changes, including the way agents identify themselves and use warrants, seizing on government funding as a way to pressure the White House over its nationwide immigration crackdown.
All right, let's bring in Matt Rivers with us live tonight. Matt, of course, on the news there, this surge ending in Minnesota. And while we have you tonight, another story you've been reporting on. You traveled to El Salvador for us, to that notorious prison, Secy. In El Salvador, there's news on that front tonight as well?
Yeah, that's right, David. We actually went inside that notorious prison last year and saw firsthand just how horrific the conditions were inside. The Venezuelans that were deported here from the U.S. were eventually released from that prison. But tonight, a federal judge saying their due process rights were violated, ordering the government to bring back anyone who wants to come back to the U.S. to face the appropriate legal process. But David, anyone who makes that choice to come back here to the U.S. could still be deported after going through the proper legal process.
All right,
David?
Matt Rivers on both of these stories tonight. Matt, thank you. This evening we have learned a U.S. Marine has fallen overboard on the USS Iwo Jima. A major search for days. That Marine now declared dead tonight. Let's get right to Martha Raddatz with what she's learned. Martha?
David, this is the first death of a U.S. service member taking part in the president's military buildup in the Caribbean to go after drug cartels. The 21-year-old Marine fell overboard from the USS Iwo Jima, an amphibious assault ship. This happened last Saturday, but tonight, after an exhaustive days-long search with Navy ships, helicopters, and small boats, the young Marine has now been declared dead and lost at sea, and his family now notified. He is identified as Lance Corporal Chukwuemeka Afora from Florida. There is no information as to how he may have fallen overboard and under what circumstances. David?
All right, Martha Raddatz live in Washington. Martha, thank you. Tonight, a federal judge blocking Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's attempt to punish former combat pilot and Senator Mark Kelly. Here's Jay O'Brien on that tonight.
Tonight, in a scathing ruling, a federal judge declared the Pentagon trampled on the rights of Democratic Senator Mark Kelly by punishing the former combat pilot and astronaut for recording this message.
We want to speak directly to members of the military. Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
President Trump called the video seditious behavior punishable by death, demanding that Kelly and other lawmakers involved be arrested and put on trial. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth quickly moved to demote Kelly from his rank of captain and cut his military pension. But tonight, federal judge Richard Leon, who was appointed by President George W. Bush, determined the Pentagon, quote, trampled on Senator Kelly's First Amendment freedoms and threatened the constitutional liberties of millions of military retirees. The judge writing, after all, as Bob Dylan famously said, you don't need a weatherman to know which way the wind blows.
He said they trampled on your First Amendment rights.
They trampled on mine, but again, this is not just about me. This is about an administration that is out of control on so many different levels.
David, Secretary Hegseth saying tonight that judge's ruling will be immediately appealed. David.
Jay O'Brien live on the Hill for us. Jay, thank you. Tonight, after the death of actor James Van Der Beek, the renewed focus now on the alarming rise in colorectal cancer among young adults in this country. What the medical community wants everyone to know tonight. Here's Trevor Ault.
Tonight, the heartbreaking loss of actor James Van Der Beek triggering an outpouring of love and a heightened awareness of the colorectal cancer that claimed his life at just 48 years old. Former Dawson's Creek co-star Katie Holmes paying tribute, saying she was grateful to have shared in a piece of James' journey, posting this handwritten note calling him a hero, writing Van Der Beek had bravery, compassion, selflessness, strength, and appreciation for life. Van Der Beek leaves behind his wife Kimberly and their 6 children. His final post on Instagram, a tribute to his father and his 12-year-old daughter Annabelle, who share a birthday, writing about his daughter, I'm so insanely grateful to have you in my life. James Van Der Beek was diagnosed with stage 3 colorectal cancer in 2023, describing to our Robin Roberts how he felt when a doctor told him he had cancer.
I was honestly in shock. I was doing what I thought I needed to do by getting the colonoscopy, which obviously I did need to do. I was in amazing cardiovascular shape. I was eating what I thought was healthy.
The disease also claimed the life of Black Panther star Chadwick Boseman, who passed away at just 43 years old. The American Cancer Society says colorectal cancer is rising in young adults, now the leading cause of cancer deaths in Americans under 50.
Early on, there might be no symptoms at all, so that's why it's so important not only to talk to your doctor, but also your family in terms of your personal risks.
And David, the American Cancer Society says people 45 and older should get regular colorectal cancer screenings, but younger people should be on the lookout for warning signs like stomach pain, bleeding, unintended weight loss, and as always, talk with your doctor. David.
Trevor Ault with us from Los Angeles again tonight. Thanks, Trevor. Now to the new storm brewing tonight, a mix of snow and heavy rain. This is across several states, so let's get right to WABC Chief Meteorologist Lee Goldberg back with us tonight. Hi, Lee.
David, the weather map waking up in time for the weekend. First, it's a clipper across the Northeast with slippery coatings across New York State, even right down to New York City by early Saturday morning. A bigger storm tape shape out west. It's snow and rain from Colorado to Texas during the day tomorrow. By Saturday, heavy rain from Texas to Illinois, even some rumbles of thunder. Flooding's possible from Shreveport up to Memphis. By Sunday, it's Virginia to Florida with heavy rain. Maybe a northern edge of some wintry weather. Baltimore to South Jersey. Philly and New York have to watch this storm too. David?
We'll watch it right here with you. Thank you, Lee. Tonight, President Trump has repealed U.S. power to regulate climate in this country. The president officially rejecting the science and what this now clears the way for. Critics tonight arguing this is not only dangerous for the environment, but for your health. Here's Mary Bruce now.
Tonight, in the blink of an eye, President Trump wiping out the government science that was the foundation of the Environmental Protection Agency's efforts to fight climate change, to keep the air pure and the skies clean.
This is a big one if you're into environment. This is about as big as it gets, they tell me.
Trump has labeled climate change a hoax, and today he erased the scientific conclusion that greenhouse gases, pollution from cars and factories, endanger human health.
A disastrous Obama-era policy that severely damaged the American auto industry and massively drove up prices for American consumers.
Is this a decision based on science?
No, this is definitely not a decision based on science.
Scientist Matthew Davis, who worked at the EPA under Democrats and Republicans, says Trump's move will have deadly consequences.
As there's more air pollution, smog, and soot in the air, we see more heart attacks, strokes, asthma attacks, all of these things.
The president was asked what he'd say to Americans who worry about that.
I tell them don't worry about it because it has nothing to do with public health. This was all a scam, a giant scam.
The White House is touting this as the largest deregulation in U.S. history, clearing the way for major changes to cars, power plants, and oil and gas production. David.
Mary Bruce at the White House tonight. Mary, thank you. When we come back here, the race to save a mother and 3 children. Look at this, trapped in their car upside down in a canal. What they did to get to them. Also, the images tonight of massive sinkholes swallowing an entire city street there. And take a close look at this tonight. This young man in his backyard, his homemade course. Do you recognize him? Because that course made him an Olympic star. In a moment. Tonight, the herring rescue in Martin County, Florida. A good Samaritan saving a mother and her 3 children, that car upside down in a canal. The Samaritan pulling the children onto land and kept the mother's head above water until help could arrive. That mom had suffered a seizure while driving. And the terrifying moments in Shanghai, China. Look at this, a massive sinkhole swallowing buildings and part of a city street. The incident happening a day after workers discovered a water leak during excavation for a subway. No injuries, unbelievably. When we come back tonight, the news coming in, not just gold, but a diamond now at the Olympics. You got to see this. To the index, the Winter Games, American snowboarder Chloe Kim falling short in her attempt at a 3rd straight gold, Kim taking home silver. And the controversy, Ukrainian athlete Vladislav Herskovich was disqualified over his helmet that had featured the faces of Ukrainian athletes who've been killed after Russia invaded. When we come back on the broadcast tonight, that young man in his backyard right here in the U.S., his homemade course. Could you pull it off?
ABC World News Tonight with David Muir. Sponsored by Nervive Nerve Relief. Feel alive with Nervive.
Finally tonight, the American skier who won gold and then a diamond. Everyone is talking about it. And the American Olympian and his homemade course in the backyard. Maybe we all need one. Here's Maggie Rulli.
Tonight here at the Olympics, the surprise for the U.S. athlete so big, it even got Taylor Swift's attention. 30-year-old alpine skier Breezy Johnson winning gold earlier this week. And right after competing today, her longtime boyfriend, Connor Watkins, getting down on one knee in front of the crowd and cameras from around the world and proposing to her. She said yes, and someone else had something to say. Taylor Swift, the athlete's boyfriend, giving her the ring and a quote from Taylor's song, The Alchemy. Breezy sharing the photos online, and Taylor commenting, writing more lyrics from the song and adding, congratulations. And tonight, a unique glimpse at just what it takes to become a U.S. Olympian. We're looking at home video of freestyle skier Alex Hall, here as just a teen, practicing in his backyard 14 years ago, on a makeshift course in warm weather, skiing on old scraps and PVC pipes.
My dad would help us dumpster dive, though. He was kind of our accomplice. He would turn a blind eye, but my dad.
So you were part of the problem.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Alex graduating from the backyard to the steep steps to the competitions to earning gold in Beijing and silver here in Italy.
What does it take to raise an Olympian?
No pressure. I think that's the key, really.
Get them on the
No
snow
pressure.
quick. Make sure it's fun.
Tonight, from the backyard to the Olympic podium.
Alex has one more chance to medal next week, and David, you know his parents will be there.
And no pressure. I do love that. Just support your kid, no pressure. Thanks, Maggie. I'll see you right back here tomorrow night. Good night, everyone.
David Muir, the most trusted anchor in America, the most watched anchor in America. Thank you for making World News Tonight with David Muir the #1 newscast in America.